In yet another major shock for Ukraine, new assessments reveal that Russia today possesses even more armored vehicles than it did at the start of the full-scale invasion in 2022, highlighting the scale of Moscow's military regeneration. Although Moscow has reportedly lost vast numbers of armored vehicles in brutal frontline battles, it has simultaneously demonstrated an ability to replenish and replace each major loss with surprising speed and consistency. Even after losing an estimated 16,100 armored vehicles during intense fighting against Kiev's forces, Russia has more than compensated for these staggering losses by rapidly scaling up refurbishment and production. To fill the battlefield gap, Moscow extracted nearly 13,000 old Soviet-era armored vehicles from long-term storage facilities, reviving them for immediate deployment in the ongoing war effort. Russia complemented these refurbished, decades-old machines by rolling out an additional 4,000 brand-new armored vehicles, significantly strengthening its frontline presence. When the war began in February 2022, Russia fielded around 20,000 armored vehicles. And now, nearly 45 months later, its total inventory has actually grown to about 21,000 despite massive losses. This trend paints a deeply foreboding picture for Ukraine and for any other country that may face Moscow in future conflicts, underscoring Russia's unmatched capacity to restore battlefield strength. Here's what Delwin, a military theorist, had to say about the real state of Putin's armored reserves. Russia is not exhausting its armored reserves. Modeling forward with constant 2025 loss levels and stable new production, the total fleet remains above 2022 levels through at least 2030. Delwin added that while Russia's overall tank inventory has declined since 2022, the size and operational capability of the broader Russian armed forces have continued to grow during the war. He noted that this decline is partly explained by the evolution of modern warfare, where the traditional role of main battle tanks has shifted dramatically on the battlefield. Tanks once dominated the frontline landscape, but that was before explosive FPV and reconnaissance drones began saturating the entire 1,100-kilometer frontline of the conflict. In recent months alone, FPV drones have been responsible for destroying more than two-thirds of all Russian tanks lost in combat, drastically reducing their battlefield utility. As a result, tanks on both the Russian and Ukrainian sides now remain positioned far behind the active front line to avoid precise drone strikes. Today, tanks spend most of their time hidden inside underground dugouts, emerging only briefly to fire a few cannon rounds before retreating again for protection. Tanks have become far less central to Russian battlefield doctrine than they were just 4 years ago, reflecting a massive strategic shift driven by drone warfare. Instead, tanks now play a limited support role to infantry fighting vehicles and armored personnel carriers, which have emerged as the most crucial vehicles of the modern battlefield. These IFVs and APCs carry, protect, and reposition troops who secure captured positions as Russia pushes for gradual territorial gains. This is why the number of APCs in Russian military service has surged, with Delwin noting a sharp 38% increase, a sign of where Russia now prioritizes its warfighting resources.